We like to think that we live by logic. There'd seem to be a set of rules that govern our lives and an order to the universe. We all look for a rightful place and a sense of stability, yet beneath our feet, the world spins like a top. Patrick Woodroffe is an artist, colouring a world that you and I have never seen. It's a world where the rules are plastic and are moulded to suit any circumstance.
It's much more fun, you know, living with someone like Patrick who extends the limits the whole time. You know how children suddenly say, what if, and gosh, what would happen if a stone could move or a stone could think? Well, it's almost an extension of that. And we have one particular picture, not in the house, it's been sold, called Masked Ball. I don't know whether you've seen that in the book, which has a gollywog standing in a doorway holding a big vacuum cleaner. And this was painted by Patrick because as a boy he had a nightmare where he was calling his mother and she came, and when she turned round her face was a gollywog's face. And he dreamt this for years and years and years, and in the end he painted it and then didn't dream it anymore.
Very rarely does it come from dreams, actually. Sometimes, but not very often. I just play around with objects, distort them, and see combinations in them, unnatural combinations in objects. And if it appeals to me sufficiently, I just go ahead and work something out in a sketch or perhaps go straight on to a painting. Looking at pictures can absorb the mind. It's one of those experiences where first impressions are rarely any indication of the truth. In Woodroffe's pictures, the eye must launch on an adventurous journey, hoping to settle on something familiar. But the familiar will be just out of reach, perhaps twisted into a joke, or simply placed alongside the real world in an impossible parody. It may be that behind certain images there lurks a ghastly truth. In our dreams, we are often visited by strange distortions of reality. There are those who say it's a sorting out process, others that dreams are unlocked messages. Perhaps both these theories are true of the dreams and true of the Woodroffe paintings. In its meticulous detail, the unreal world of Patrick Woodroffe is already contained within 3 books and adorns the covers of a dozen paperbacks. Patrick, I mean, you've had phenomenal success, really, over the last couple of years. But you weren't trained as an artist. No, I was trained as a linguist, actually, and taught for about 8 years, and then gave it up after comprehensivization. Had you pursued art as a young man at all? Oh, I always did it as a hobby, but as a sort of nature study rather than as art. And then coming across surrealist painters was what turned me into an artist, I suppose. Do you think you were influenced at all by any particular artist? Well, initially by Salvador Dalí, and then as part of my degree course I spent 3 months in Vienna. And there's a very strong school there called the Fantastic Realists. And they produce incredible paintings. And that's what it really was that set me off. Patrick, was your book Mythopoeican? What does it officially mean? Officially, myth-making images. Was that book a conscious collection for that purpose? Or was it many drawings and paintings that you'd done over a period of time that became a compendium? Yes, it's just a retrospective of the work I've done over 10 years. And during those 10 years, you've had several exhibitions, I imagine? Yes, I had my first exhibition just after I left school at the Covent Garden Gallery, which doesn't exist now. And immediately prior to the book, I had an exhibition at Mel Kalman's gallery in Lamb's Conduit Street, the workshop, where they show works of cartoonists and so on. And it was from that exhibition that the book came. Dragon's World came, saw it, and decided to publish. Your own personal logo seems to be an elephant. What actually is it? Well, I call it a hermit elephant. It's an elephant which is so small that it can exist in a snail shell. It's a sort of symbol of humility or something, I'm not quite sure what. But I like the visual contradiction of a small thing and a large thing, both together, and you can't quite be certain how big it is.
What do you find attractive about the snail?
I think it's the perfect logarithmic spiral by which they grow, so that a snail, no matter how big it is, always has the same basic shape.
To admit that one of your influences is the common garden snail, whilst living only a step or two from the Cornish coast in Falmouth, may on the face of it seem strange. But then there's very little that's predictable about Patrick Woodroffe. The ideas for his pictures come welling up from a fertile imagination. Sometimes there's a message, and at other times the simple presentation of an attractive composition. Inevitably, the atmosphere in the Woodroffe household is infectious, everyone involved in the fun of discovery.
Daddy he went to Holywell, and there's thousands of dead snail shells, lovely ones, so he brought some home, glued them in and varnished them.
Of some pictures, Rosie Woodroffe has her own particular view, as here with the cherry-eating dragons of British Columbia.
Well, they've got some babies in the nest, and the father dragon is bringing cherries from the mother to feed them.
Do your friends at school see your daddy's paintings?
Yes.
What do they say about it?
Well, Sally Wingate, she's one of my friends. She thought I was awfully lucky when I told her that I got a free copy whenever he had a book published.
I don't find anyone criticises. I think it's probably too overwhelming. Not that they particularly like it, maybe, but just the amount of work would overwhelm them. I find with the children that some of their friends are afraid to come. I didn't realise until Rosie's friends, particularly Rosie's 9, started dropping off and they weren't coming, that they actually were afraid of some of the pictures in the hall. And then I looked at them with new eyes, because they really are quite frightening, some of them.
There's one image that seems to recur in both Patrick's imagination and in reality. Can you guess what I'm talking about?
The round face?
The round face, yes.
Yes. Well, this stems from his boyhood. And if you remember the old Guinness advert with the glass slightly tilted and the foam with the face on it, well, his father looked exactly like that. And that must have imprinted himself on his mind. And then later he met and married me, and I had a round face, so that reinforced it. And of course the children have round faces now.
A grandfather clock which we used to have with moon faces and sun faces which used to rotate. The head of a Guinness on a Guinness advert which used to have a round face on it. And I think my wife's face, which is fairly round.
Did you think you were initially attracted because she had a round face? Or?
I think I probably was, yes. I'd call it a code word, really, a sort of visual code word for love. That's all there is to it, really. I just like the shape. And to give something a face, to give it eyes looking out at you and smiling at you, it makes the painting sort of relate to you, and you react to it, as though you were looking at a face. And when you see a whole lot of little faces looking at you, it's like being stared at by a lot of little beings.
Do you think that's your ideal woman, that image?
Well, I have quite a few ideal women. I don't know, that's the ideal wife, I would say, but perhaps not the ideal sex object.
Still waters run deep, and like so many artists, Patrick must find those quiet, reflective moments in which to range around for a fresh idea.
On a walk, he would suddenly go completely blank and not hear us. But now that he disciplines himself more, that tends to happen up in the attic when he is working.
One successful children's book has set him the problem of finding another. But where was the inspiration to come from? What fresh fantasy would appeal to children?
The idea originally came from just watching ducks and them appealing to me very much as objects. I still think a duck is probably the most difficult bird to draw because they're curiously comical and yet extremely beautiful at the same time. And to get both of those aspects into a painting, I think is extremely difficult. I challenge anyone to do it. I'm sure I haven't succeeded.
Whether or not Patrick has succeeded will soon become evident when the children see his new book. Tinker will almost certainly charm them, and the world that he has created round a compromised duck is full of colour and incident. Patrick's son Danny still talks about his favourite picture.
It's the one where, in the story of Tinker, he's flying to Dr. Finnicker's tower because there's been an accident on a viaduct. And the thing in the background is the airship which they fly to the rescue in.
And Tinker's what?
He's a cross between a mallard and a shelduck. He eats holes.
The tiniest portion of the pictures will stand close scrutiny, bringing into focus the remarkable attention to detail. The artist's skills with graphics and layout are applied with equal diligence. Here, in the front plate for the Tinker book, the character is drawn within the shape of a duck's egg.
Do you have a favourite picture?
I have 2 or 3 favourite pictures, yes.
Could you tell me about one of them?
Well, the one that springs to mind is the one that's called the thorn apple tree, which, if you remember, has a doll and a little girl, and the doll is impaled on a big, almost like an apple with lots of thorns. And the girl is partly scaffolding and partly a little girl. And this was done at a time when a niece of ours went into hospital and had an operation on her heart, and subsequently died. She was 3 years old. And so I think it was Patrick's way of getting over the dreadful shock, and I don't know, it just had a lot of feeling in it, and I don't know whether someone who didn't know the story would feel the same way.
In some pictures, the message has an immediate impact. This is the cover picture for a book by Brian Aldiss called The Billion-Year Spree. Patrick describes it as representing the visionary who is eventually destroyed by time.
So there are messages for us in the fantastic world which we could use to, perhaps, to improve our own.
Yes, I think I'm definitely trying to paint things as they could be sometimes, not always, but I think painting is just saying, what if things were like this? Not necessarily they should be like this, just what if they were? It's a sort of visual hypothesis.
But then not all his pictures are hypothetical, as with this graphic illustration, an appeal against the plight of the suburban housewife.
Do you know what kind of reaction you get to them?
Well, they vary a lot. It's very strong amongst young people. It sort of peters out later on, I think.
Do you get odd comments?
Oh, I've had some very weird comments. A woman wrote to the publisher and complained because she'd seen reproductions of mine in Selfridges. She thought that it was a disgrace that they should be displayed in public places.
What was that picture?
I don't know. I never found out which one it was.
One of the things I've noticed looking at the pictures is the amazing variety of techniques that you use. Is this because you get dissatisfied with one technique, just want to try something else? Or do you feel that you have to draw in as many of these as possible?
Well, I just like to have changes. If I've worked on an oil painting for a couple of weeks, I like to get onto something totally different, like a pencil drawing, and work very, very clean. Because oil painting is an extremely messy thing, potentially very, very messy. You're constantly getting dust settling on it and have to pick it off with tweezers and things like that. Whereas a pencil drawing, being dry, is very satisfying. So from a pencil drawing, I go back to something else, perhaps onto an etching or onto a watercolour. But when you're working on a book, I think it's nice to vary the media, just for the visual variety that you get from it.
Now, you've illustrated a lot of books or book covers, done, what, 2, 3 books of your own, is it?
Yes, 3. Yes, I'm now on another one, yeah.
And I'm told you're working on a new project.
Yes.
Can you tell us anything about it?
Well, I can tell you that it's a collaboration with Dave Greenslade, the musician, the composer, and that it will be an illustrated book produced with 2 LP records. But I don't really want to tell you any more about it than that.
It's got to come as something as a surprise,
yes.
hasn't it?
Yes, I hope so.
Because you're able to do your own layout.
Yes.
And your own graphics.
Yes.
So there's considerable coordination there, lots of skills. How did you find time to acquire all those skills?
Well, I was never trained to do any of them, really. I just sort of found it out by trial and error. When I did the book on my work, I was just given the bare necessities of knowledge as to what to do. I didn't even know how type was set or how any of it would be done, and just learned as I went along.
I met Patrick in 1975 when Greenslade as a band was making its 4th album called Time and Tide. And our drummer, Andy McCulloch, was a Michael Moorcock sort of reader, you know. And he was looking at the cover one day and thought that the painting on the cover of Michael Moorcock's Oak and the Ram was fantastic, and let's find the artist. So Andrew proceeded to track him down, and of course it was Patrick Woodroffe.
What did you make of the pictures when you first saw them?
Oh, absolutely fantastic. Everything Patrick has done since I met him has just knocked me out completely.
Did they immediately give you an idea for music?
I think paintings do anyway, but in Patrick's case, yes, even more so, in fact, because of his attention to detail and atmosphere. Atmospheres come across in his paintings immediately. And, yes, delightful.
The project that we're not going to say too much about, that you're about to embark on, whose idea was it? Was it a joint idea, or was it Patrick's or yours?
No, it was Patrick's idea. It was his story, and obviously his paintings. But he wrote to me some while ago, and I was very flattered to be asked to write the score, which will probably turn out as a double album, in fact, to go with about 25 paintings and the book. But we are working very closely together now. I've just been down, in fact, to discuss the second half of side 1, in fact. I've completed writing the first half. So we're going to work very, very closely together when we actually put the thing together. And when we come to record it for real in the studio, then Patrick, I hope, will be there nearly all of the time, you know. Whereabouts
Yes,
are
so
we
we're
on your
there.
plan?
We're there, you see? And that's the moon that's called, that I worked out would be called darkness. See, I planned this on the spectrum.
Right.
So that's the sun, you see, God, silver, white.
Mm.
And then there's the home planet, Earth, called Earth for convenience, really. And then it works through from white to black.
Mm-hmm.
See, and the whole religious system is based on the spectrum.
Mm. Mm.
So all the light together is white. So that's God.
Right.
Light divided into three
Yes.
is basically red, blue, yellow. The Earth is grey because it's halfway between white and dark.
Yes. That's right.
And the whole thing ends up on this planet.
It's very easy to relate musically too, in colours. I've been using rather standard kind of pianos and so on for many years. It's only recently, in fact, with sort of the advent of these kind of wonderful beasts, you know, polyphonic synthesizers and so on, that I've been able to make these weird and wonderful sounds. What I've been doing on my recent projects, like The Gangsters and Musical and so on, is to use a drummer, percussionist, and then do the rest myself, you know. Just sort of get strings out of one instrument and brass out of another one, and electric piano from somewhere else. Well, okay, well, in that case, I mean, the blink should be kept fairly short. The thing is that it's a magnificent start, I mean, visually, isn't it?
Yeah. The planet consists entirely of water. So the action of the sun on the water is the only thing that really affects what's going on.
Yeah.
And he is appointed as god of the air, the dividing line between the water and the air, to make sure that it's a living thing and not just a dead world.
Yeah. And he's
And
about
the bell is to summon evaporation to take place, and his flock to become the clouds.
Oh, right.
But then book 3 is much shorter. That only covers 2 spreads.
Oh, in that case, then,
So-
the three sexy women, because
be
it's
on-
going to be a long piece, we could do that as side and a half, and then book 3 can be the rest of
side
side 2.
But let's have some very short pieces.
Yes,
Very short.
yes,
Why not? I mean,
Yes.
you take some of these old concertos,
yes,
and they had movements lasting a couple of minutes, didn't
yes, that's right. So, in fact, this section could be like half a side, really.
Yeah.
What comes immediately
they? Well,
after?
again, there's...
So here develops an interesting new relationship formed from 2 unusual and comparatively recent talents. The result will be a lavishly illustrated book where the pictures will be looked at in conjunction with a major work of music, a sort of audio-visual aid to the imagination.
Even though there's only like sort of, how many paintings do you reckon?
There's a theory that if the human mind can conceive an idea, it must be possible. But just what is to be conceived here, well, we'll just have to wait and see.
Right, that's a nice way to finish 3 anyway.
Yes,
Creation of woman and so on, then dip it right down.
yes.
Bit of a pause, almost silent, and into this Holocaust.
I don't find it impossible to come to terms with any of them. Or to sort anything out. I always know exactly what's happening and have got a good idea what's going to happen next.
For centuries, man has feared his alter ego, that other self that lurks in the subconscious mind. Patrick Woodroffe has taken the step of displaying his other self for all of us to see. Not as canvases to hang on a wall, but as pictures in a book where we can muse over that other world where you make up the rules as you go along.